This week's film on the Reel Watchlist Plus is The Last Tango in Paris. We're continuing our series on sleazy, sexy movies, which was rated X but is now NC-17. And it's about a young Parisian woman who meets a middle-aged American businessman, Marlon Brando, who demands their clandestine relationship is based only on sex, not even revealing each other's names.
Yes, and don't forget, folks, to a subscribe, like, and comment to the Reel Watchlist Plus Bold Media Films YouTube channel. We're finished with our first year. We're looking towards a great second year, and we need your love and support, and we'll give that same love and support back to you. The Cinesips for today, since we're celebrating The Last Tango in Paris, how appropriate would it be to have a champagne from France from the Debbie Higgins wine cellar, only the best for us at the Reel Watchlist Plus. So Debbie, this is a classic champagne cocktail.
Oh, it's my favorite, Joe.
In the theme of The Last Tango in Paris, it has some sugar, a little sugar cube, with a little bitters because of the bitterness of this movie. So we're going to toast away and say,
this I will drink. I don't even have to doubt it.
To The Last Tango in Paris.
I'm going to go just get it, Joe.
Lovely.
Now that's my kind of drink.
Yeah. Merde.
Well, I'm going to save half of it for halfway through the review, and then I'll slug the rest back.
This is flat.
Like I did at the Oscars.
This champagne is flatter than my ass. Un, deux, trois. Wow!
Wow! How are we going to convince people to watch this sucker?
We're not, because I couldn't stand this movie.
Oh, well, we're going to get into it, but
why?
I'm going to set the stage, a plot device right here. And we're going to get into that if people don't understand why I am holding a stick
of butter?
Okay. I'm not 20, so I've seen all these movies in theaters. And I remember the hype surrounding this thing, especially with Marlon Brando, who was like the it person. And there was a time that Marlon Brando was just revered, and he could get on film and burp, and people would think, oh my God, he's unbelievable.
And now he gets a finger stuck up his ass.
Yeah, he does. But the thing was about this movie, I find it a torture to watch. But I found it a torture back in the day to watch it, and I didn't understand what all the hype was about. And it was X-rated. I mean, it was like a really shocking thing, and yet it was just a bore. I think it was a boring movie.
I couldn't wait till the movie was done. I mean, you get to the point where you're watching it, you're trying to find some kind of sense of what the movie's what the movie's about and why. And I'm like, just like, WTF, why am I watching this? And then when you think it's over, it keeps going.
All right. Well, the whole thing is Marlon Brando is a widower, and his wife obviously, I guess, committed suicide. And he's despondent, and he's wandering around Paris. And I must say, it's the first time kind of they used a city as a character. And he goes to an apartment to rent, I guess, to just be despondent and sad. And at the same time, this young girl, who's played by Maria Schneider, goes to rent this apartment as well because she's engaged to a filmmaker. Well, they meet and they're in this rundown apartment, but it still has that look of old Paris elegance of high ceilings and beautiful windows.
It's kind of like a chance encounter, like something like you didn't expect those two to meet.
Right. She's a young girl and he's this old thing. And truthfully, when I watched it in the movies and I was young, I thought he looked so fat and old.
Yeah, like Chewbacca.
But now I look at him and he's like normal because I'm old and not skinny.
I remember this film and the comments about it, not only because of the eroticism and the sexual tensions and all that crazy stuff that was going on, but I always remember, oh, that was the movie that made Brando fat. Like, people tagged him as being fat.
He's not that fat.
I'm like,
we're fat now.
Have times changed where, like, back then that was fat and now that's normal? I mean,
no, I think they remember Brando as like Stanley Kowalski in like A Streetcar Named Desire, and he had the T-shirt on, and he was all that, and he was like a heartthrob, you know. Yeah. But then he became like, well, he became really bad after that when he did Isle of Dr. Moreau. He was like a parody of his own self. But it was just, you know, to continue a little bit with the plot, they link up. They have this torrid sex thing. And they don't know each other's names, and they don't want to know each other's names. But also,
well, she kind of, as the film develops, she's kind of trying to bring the relationship somewhat together. She's got a fiance on, you know, that she's trying to manage. You know, sort of like your life. Manage the one boy and the other man over here. But, you know, it's developing, and she wants to get to know him a little bit more because she's young and she's vulnerable and she's liking what's happening sexually. But he's like, no, I don't want to know your name. I don't want to know anything about you. And all they do is have sex in this kind of quasi-abandoned apartment-looking place.
And the big thing about it is, you know, he's trying to deal with his wife's death, and she killed herself, and his wife was having an affair with someone as well. And he has a little scene with that.
The guy upstairs.
Also,
where they lived.
All in the same building. It's all like all crazy. And then at the end, not a spoiler alert because it's so boring. We have to tell you the end so you go to it. He does want to have a loving relationship at the end, and he gets all crazy, and she ultimately...
Yeah, he's like stalking her at that point, and all of a sudden she's like, no, you're too crazy for me.
But the big thing about it is, what it's known for is this. There was a butter scene that they didn't even tell Maria Schneider about it, supposedly, and he uses the butter as a lubricant for an anal sex scene, which really didn't happen. But she was all shocked, and there's so many different things about her, that she was a virgin, but then she wasn't a virgin, and it was all mixed up.
Do you want to talk about her for a little bit for a second?
Yeah, sure.
Because she was, from what I saw, was kind of like the it person. Like, she ended up doing that, and then Caligula, and watch out for that episode, folks, that review. Seemed like, you know, she had this kind of beauty about her, a European beauty kind of thing.
I didn't think she was pretty at all. I thought she had like a real...
I thought she was...
I guess chacun a son goût, as they say in France, to each his own.
Okay, I don't know what the hell she just said.
But anyway, I don't think she was all that and then some. She was just young, and everybody that's young and has long legs is great, you know, I suppose.
Again, this it girl, she's kind of wants to make her way into show business, into acting, and this is a breakout role for her. She's going to be with Brando. Everyone wants to be with Brando. So she's reading the script, and she's looking at this as an opportunity. She doesn't see anything bad about it. It's going to be erotic, but it's going to be artistic at the same time. And she later says that she felt fooled, deceived by Bertolucci and Brando because of the scenes like the butter scene.
She almost feels like she was raped mentally by it. It really damaged her.
It damaged her considerably after, you know, doing the deep dive into this. And because of that, you know, she not only is not supportive of the film, but later on, she ends up being casting Caligula. Ironically, it's a film that we're also reviewing, so check that review out. And she's put in the same situation.
Right.
So if you want to know what happens there, folks, you know, watch our episode. But she's now being used in the business as a sex pot.
A pornographic actress.
So she's not an actress,
even though it's not
actress.
pornography, it isn't even what's on HBO anymore. But back then, this was something, another movie, just like we did Cruisin', where all the outcry about the butter scene and all the other stuff
and he had a finger up his butt. Like, what the hell?
They wanted people to see it. Because and all this controversy made people go to the theaters to see it.
I'm watching this like, why? Like, why? But critics love this film for Brando's performance. Matter of fact, some even said that his performance in this film was better than his performance in The Godfather. That if he should have won an award, it should have been Tango rather than Godfather.
There's so many critics that just say things that they feel they have to jump on the bandwagon, and they're afraid to like be different or because they want to be part of the fold. Right. And if they're not part of the fold, they get criticized and they won't be print. They won't be quoted wherever. Right. But Brando said about this role that it exposed his inner psyche that really disturbed him. Mm-hmm. But Bertolucci was a really big director, and he was influenced. Do you know who he was influenced by? It sounds like it might be a Joe's thing. Michelangelo Antonioni, who we did Blow Up, which we like. And the more I think about Blow Up, the more I do like it.
Check out that episode on the Reel Watchlist Plus.
And also Jean-Luc Godard. And of course, these European directors and these Italian directors and French directors were so influential to American cinema because everybody thought, oh my God, they know everything.
Bertolucci later said that he regrets putting Schneider in this position of being uncomfortable, and the tension existed on the set too. But it got so much critical acclaim for what it was. Now, I rated it a 4, you rated it a 5.
I don't get it.
If there was anything redeeming about this film to me, I loved the setting. I loved the filming, giving that moody kind of look. It's in France, it's rainy, it sets the stage for a good story. I liked the scene where Brando is talking to his dead wife. I thought if there's any great scene, it was that one. He actually confesses. He's asking why, and he's confessing to his dead wife as she's laying on the bed. And damn, I felt that.
You got to think about the time period too, because with the critics, anything that was foreign or coming in from France or from Italy was revered. I mean, they were so into Fellini, they were so into Truffaut, they were so into these other directors that, of course, in American cinema, these critics, they would be remiss if they didn't think this was all that and then some. And that's why if you go back and you watch critics, even like Gene and Roger, Siskel and Ebert back in the day, there weren't that many films coming in from Europe, or we're inundated with all kinds of cinema from all over the world now. All the critics loved all the foreign cinema. You never heard them say they didn't like something. It was like they felt that it was erudite in order to do that. And they were almost afraid to criticize it, I feel.
Right. You got to look at Brando too in a time period he's at a point of his career where nothing's really happening. I mean, he shot up to the moon as a star,
right,
and then all of a sudden flatlines with some of his follow-up movies. And this and Godfather is what put him on the stage to get even more parts right, like Apocalypse Now. But I'm thinking, when you look at what he said about the film, he didn't even like this
No,
film.
He didn't, and he always regretted being in it.
Yeah, he collected a paycheck, though. He was okay with that.
Well, he collected, and he got points on this, which he didn't get a salary. He took points on the back end, I think, which was very smart for these people to do.
He took it on the back end.
Because, yeah, exactly. But this was banned in so many countries, and people would cross borders of places in order to see this movie. The lines were 2-3 hours long to get in this damnable thing. And it's just because it was salacious. That's it. I mean, that's what sold in film, because we didn't have that much of it. So when you had a cutting edge film, which had sex in it, especially Brando had this austerity that was always mystifying. He always was against the fringe, like when he didn't accept the Oscar.
Oh, the Oscar for The Godfather. And he sends a native Indian to go talk about the poor treatment of Indians in film.
He didn't give a damn about Hollywood. And that's what made him this visceral actor that people were intrigued by. I think if Brando hadn't been in the movie, it would have just gone into obscurity.
True or false? Are you ready for this one?
Yes, I'm incredibly ready.
Esther Anderson went out with Marlon Brando and was with him when he starred in Last Tango. After watching the film, cast member Maria Schneider was present, and Esther confronted her with a slap and walked out of the theater. She later broke it off her relationship with Brando. True or false?
I don't have a clue. I never heard her name before.
Esther Anderson?
No, I don't know. I know nothing. You should know this one. I say true.
False.
Well, I always think whatever I think, I should do the opposite.
So Esther Anderson, who was an actress from Jamaica, she became great friends with Schneider, who was featured in those controversial scenes.
Okay.
She was with Maria at the theater when she first saw the movie, and Maria was absolutely shocked. So much so that she ran out of the theater. Because of that, she was screaming. She ran into the street. Esther ran after her, had to comfort her. And as Schneider later said, she felt that movie ruined the rest of her life.
Well, Marlon always loved these exotic women. You know, he did that whole thing with Mutiny on the Bounty where he was in love with the girl from the island and he never came home and it was all crazy. But do you know, Joe, and this, I thought you were going to ask me for Joe's thing, but you didn't, that this was actually written as a homosexual film.
I didn't know that.
And it would have been so much better that it was written to be that. And it was the first time ever the word CUNT was ever used in a film, which gave it the X rating.
So for the audience, though, I want to ask you about Marlon Brando. Now, my go-to Marlon Brando movie, obviously, is The Godfather. Audience members, comment below. What is your favorite Marlon Brando movie? We'd love to hear from you, your thoughts, and maybe we'll even take your suggestion for a future movie. Or, if, like Debbie said, if it was a homosexual movie, who would you have paired with Marlon Brando?
And all these films this time represent intimacy, power, and desire, and sexuality. I really love doing this series. I don't know, it must be nuts, but... Belle de Jour, 1968. Séverine, played by Catherine Deneuve, is a beautiful young woman married to a doctor. As a frigid young housewife, she decides to spend her midweek afternoons as a prostitute while remaining chaste in her marriage. Number 2. I love this film, Death in Venice, 1971. In the adaptation of the famous Thomas Mann novel, avant-garde composer Gustav van Aschenbach, played by Sir Dirk Bogarde, travels to a Venetian seaside resort seeking a repose after a time of personal and artistic stress. He soon develops a troubling attraction to Tadzio, a young adolescent boy on vacation with his family. Number 3, A Man and a Woman, very famous theme song. Da 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 da. Da, da, da. 1966, a widow and a widower find their relationship developing into love, but their past tragedies prove hard to overcome, causing them to proceed with utmost delicacy. Another one I absolutely love, 9.5 Weeks from 1986, based on a true story. A New York art gallery curator, played by Kim Basinger at her most beautiful, starts a torrid love affair with a suave stranger, at the time gorgeous Mickey Rourke, who keeps pushing her boundaries of the flight or fight response. And number 5, Basic Instinct from 1992. A violent police detective, Michael Douglas, investigates a brutal murder that might involve a manipulative and seductive novelist played by Sharon Stone. And it's known sensationally for the crossed legs, no underwear interrogation by the police detectives.
So, Deb, why should people watch this film? Or should they?
It became Paris as a character. Which started in film. Not that that's a great impetus to watch this thing, but it is a controversial movie. And it is one of Brando's performances that people talk about. So I think if you're a film nut, you should see it. Because if anybody ever asks you about it, you want to be able to talk about it, not be like, duh.
For me, I would not recommend it to the everyday classic movie lover because there's so many great classic films. Even ones that maybe not be a 9 or 10, I mean, this doesn't cut the mustard. It may cut the butter, but if you're a cinephile, yeah, watch it because you want to be part of the conversation. If you're in a group of people with like-minded cinephiles, you want to be, somewhat educated and not sound dumb. So watch it. Otherwise, put this on your toilet list. Don't even bother looking at it. So, Deb, while I'm wearing my overcoat, my turtleneck and my buffet for the French theme of Let's Tango in Paris, and you are wearing the...
Well, I'm Maria Schneider, even though I'm a little bit older than she was, the nubile virgin, and I do have my butter, and I'm packing.
So, Deb, I mean, there are modern reviewers of classic cinema that even today love this film. I'm not sure why, so educate me. Why should modern reviewers adore this film?
Well, I think modern reviewers really, like literary critics and YouTube critics and everything, because of the fact that back in the day, the big critics, like Pauline Kael, the ones that were of noteworthiness, all thought it was great. Nobody is ever going to disrespect the litany of the greatest film critics that ever were, that made this business of being a film critic. And I think because it had the pace it had, the Marlon Brando, that it exposed his inner psyche, and he talked about it. I don't think it's just because of the film itself. I think it's everything surrounding the film. And I don't think very many people criticize a Bertolucci film.
Tell those people why you gave it a 5 then. Since
because
you
I thought it
to be
was,
part of that
because
cinephile
I don't
group.
care, and I thought it was a bloody bore, and I thought the pace was too slow. I don't think it had an exposition that was shocking. At the end, there's a tango scene where I thought the more shocking tango scene was they shoot horses, don't they? I just watched that picture not too long ago. So I just think it was very lightweight. And I think it was ambiguous in its exposition. I don't think it was that good of a successful film.
So what you're saying is those old-time movie reviewers just bought into and drank the juice.
I don't think they did.
And that the new movie reviewers, the modern-day movie reviewers, want to be part of the club, so they can't be critical of something that Brando did in France.
That's
and
true.
Blah, 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 blah.
But the old-timey critics, first of all, you got to remember the time period. You got to remember when films came out and what time was in the world.
Yeah,
the
suck
way
up to
people were
European
thinking.
films. And you throw Brando in there, and all of a sudden it's a classic.
Right, the way people were thinking. It was shocking. It was different. It was a star that we never were used to seeing them expose their soul.
Okay, wait a minute. If the butter scene never existed, and the never existed, would it have been a classic?
Only because of an X rating. And did it have an X rating because of the butter scene? I don't really know. I can't get
if they didn't say C-U-N-T.
I can't get into the heads of critics that are dead now, and I'd love to sit down and, I mean, when everybody says, who would you like to have lunch with?
I think Bertolucci was going to just, let's make something that's going to make a little bit of money, make it controversial. We got Brando, that's a thumbs up. So let's throw some, sneak in some things to poor Maria Schneider, and let's see where it goes.
It's not that. It's just that, Blow Up. We love Blow Up. But would Blow Up be as successful as it was back then? If it was now, you have to do the sensibility of the decade that we were living in.
Had some meaning behind it. This didn't have any meaning. What was the meaning? Let's screw around, undercover, big deal. It happens all the time because it was Brando and you use some butter.
Well, and at the end, he dies.
Yeah, I mean, this is just like this bourgeoisie kind of film that, you got to be in the in crowd to love the film, and you got to be like part of the group, the club, the exclusive club. Guess what, folks? This movie sucked.